Yep.
There it is. All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening to this replay. This you have joined Striving to Thriving, Redefining Success. I'm your host, Barbara Ellison, and I am so excited to have a phenomenal panel of ladies and experts to be on this show with me. But in the meantime, as I said, my name is Barbara Ellison, and I have the pleasure of working with late career business professionals to overcome stress, declining health, and financial insecurity so that they experience having a happy, healthy, prosperous future in retirement. We all need to have that. And as we get of a certain age, so that's what I do. And right now, I would just like to introduce you to we had a great conversation and have had several conversations. And Kristine, welcome to the show. Tell us who you are, what you do, those kinds of things, and then introduce your guests.
I am so excited to be here, Barbara. Honestly, we had a great conversation. And when you invited me, I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. So I'm Kristine Meyer, Skiff. I own Gift and Author Publishing. And I'm the mom of 5 special needs adult sons that still live at home. And also just have 3 cats, a dog, or no, 3 dogs, 1 cat, and a grand turtle. That's that's our life. And I brought with me a couple of friends of mine. There's Marissa Gibson. She is my right-hand woman. I love her. Without her, I would be nothing. Shatha Shanoon. She has written an incredible book with Gift and Author that changed my life, honestly. I want to grow up to be Shatha. And Barbara is my CFO / friend / accountant / keeps me on the straight and narrow. And we are here today to just have fun with you, Barbara.
Absolutely. And I am so glad you're here. So who wants to start? You know the subject is striving to thriving, redefining success. So, Kristine, why don't you start with, tell us about you and how that hit you and why you decided that this was a good topic for you to share with your audience.
Oh my goodness, striving to thriving. It pretty much encapsulates my entire life. One time, my mom called me and she said, "Kristine, I don't understand why everything in your life is such a fight, but then you accomplish it and you move on." But I was a writer before I got married, and I was enjoying my career. It was just starting off. I just gotten out of college, doing the young thing. And I got married, and we had 5 children back to back, and all of them within 3 years were diagnosed with special needs. First, autism, and secondly, in their teens, they were all diagnosed with comorbid mental illnesses. So I could not work. I did work during their preschool years. I made $1.75 after paying for preschool. I literally worked for preschool, but they needed it with the autism. And then I stayed home, and honestly, I was going insane because it had never been I had never been the stay home kind of mom. It was never my dream to bake cookies, and I mean, bake cookies on Christmas. Yes. But, every day, or, I always wanted to be out doing, I loved a career. I loved working with people, but, it wasn't my life. So I had to find peace with that and find a way to channel my energy into fighting for my kids to have the accommodations they needed. And, at 2, my son Jamie, he was the first one diagnosed, and the doctors said, yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to do much more than he is now. He's pretty disabled. And with the amount of care your other 4 kids need, we recommend finding a group home for him or something. I know he's young, but this is kind of what you're looking at in the next few years. And I was like, you're giving a 2-year-old a life sentence already? He's only 2. And so instead of doing that, we went and started all the different therapies. And he graduated high school. And he was in JROTC when he graduated. He is now working towards engineering, and he is doing amazing. And that shows you that not everything the doctors say is a life sentence. You can overcome.
Right.
So I continued writing as a blog, sharing our crazy stories, and that eventually became a book, which eventually became me starting a publishing company accidentally, because I had a team that I loved and people loved them because they were doing their jobs. And I just was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm a publisher now. And that was my journey.
Awesome. So introduce, and let's talk about Marissa. Who's next? Who wants to be next?
Which one of you want to go next? You want to go, Marissa?
Okay, I'll go. Okay, well, I'm Marissa, and so my story starts out. I'm not gonna go all the way back, but I originally went to my dream university, and I went for. I went, so I left high school in 2019. So I went to my dream school, and I also took a gap year last year. So from 2022 to 2000, I was supposed to say 2003, 2023, I took a gap year, and I went back for a semester, and I decided that it was not right for me. I'd been going to school for chemistry, but I'm not a math person at all. You can just ask Kristine. I've never been a math person, but I'd always wanted to be a doctor. But I finally just decided that I was just tired of trying to, because I kept on pushing myself so hard to where I was beyond burnout. So I decided that I needed to make a change, and I was already looking into technical writing even before I had decided to leave college. I was just going to use my chemistry degree just to get into technical writing, but that was kind of always the plan, and I had even discussed it with Kristine before. But whenever I decided to make the pivot, I'd already been working for Kristine, so she helped me a lot to try to figure out what the next step was. I just love Kristine. I've known her ever since I was 16 years old. And she really helped me every step of the way. But I left school not really knowing, because I left after the fall semester. I'd actually planned to stick it out all the way to spring and then figure out what the next step was. That I was going to use the whole summertime to figure out what the next step was. But I just ended up leaving in January. And Kristine, she helped me navigate that really confusing time, and now here I am. I'm working towards becoming a technical writer as well as a presentation designer, and she just rocks, and I love this whole journey that she's helping me figure out and navigate right now.
You rock.
Thank you.
Well, we'll just keep going around the circle. Hey, Shatha, what do you want to tell us about yourself?
Hi, my name is Shatha. Sorry about my voice. It's kind of a little bit sick. I'm an author. I had the hobby of writing my diary, and I remember my sisters make fun of me because about I like this boy, I like this boy in my diaries, and they make fun of me, and I start to write more and more. Whatever I feel like it's like sometimes when I walk, I feel the words is flying on the air, and I feel like it's going in the sentence. It's amazing the feeling. And I started this when I started this book, the Not My Sin. It took me a while to get the idea of writing a true story about sexual abuse survivor. It's very difficult content to speak about in Middle East. So I moved from Iraq like 8 years ago to Canada after trying to make my own company in engineering agriculture. Totally different. It's when I came here, my dream is to open my own company, and somehow I'm still in the beginning, and I'm happy to get the chance to meet Christine. She was amazing. Like honestly, I always have my self-esteem was not in the proper place. Second, English is my second language, so I would go there with all my emotions about the story that we're writing, and she goes and she helps me a lot with writing that. So it was a difficult time. Like I had to go through different writer to help me write it, to help me tell the story that we are going to do, and I didn't get the help that I needed. But with the Christine, she's like, she raised my mind, like, can we do this? Can we do that? And she helped a lot. So my goal now, I'm a dental assistant too. I'm doing the administration to help myself to be more open to talk with people back home. It's very difficult for females to have a freedom of speech, which I'm trying to break uh, this bad experience that I had. As well as I'm a mom. I have two boys, so I want my kids to be the next good generation that helps women, respect them, give them the life and support that they need. My husband is doing that for me, so I want my kids to do the same. Um, uh, Writing this book took me 3 years of stress and um emotional breaking down. Uh, it's not an easy. So we had to give the all we can as a true story, and it was like every word, every story page, you can feel the emotion that we put in for the survivor. So it's very important for me to say I finished the first. I'm a person that who doesn't finish the work. I go to the middle and then I'm done. So for the first time, I consciously worked. I said, "Yeah, I have to do it. I have to do it." So I finished it. I'm so glad. Uh, so yeah, first accomplished, and Christine helps a lot. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Welcome.
And Barbara.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say Christine's my hero. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. I know I help her with the books and I help her with accounting, etc. In January, my life went into major chaos and it got worse in March and has gotten almost tornadic. And it's been one of I could never dream that anybody's life was as crazy as mine was turning out to be. And I just happened to one day reach out and say, I just got to talk to somebody. Can I just tell you this? I don't need advice. I don't need any. I just want to. And I did. I went, blah, 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 basically. And she's like, your house sounds like mine. I was like, really? It's crazy around my house. It's been really, really, and I'm slowly getting back under control. I decided June 1st, things were going to change and I was going to fix things and get things back. But went to the brink of almost complete chaos. And it's, Christine's been one of those, okay, all right, you got to think your way around it. You got to figure it out. You can do it. And it's been really, really fun, really great. And she's doing this collaborative book right now with a group of people. And I'm part of that. And I think it's been really cool for me. I like the process. It's been kind of neat learning all the different things going on. So yeah, there's many times we can start, striving and have chaos and then turn around and I'm starting to come back out of it. And it took someone saying, yep, sounds like my house. Now, this is what you got to do to get around it. Just get your head around it. Keep moving forward, and Christine stood there and did that for me. And so things are getting back on track. Things are starting to move again. Things are moving ahead. So.
And Barbara is being very, very modest because honestly, when I started this business, it was not a planned thing. I had already had a business. I was a partner in one. And my partner in January of 2023 told me mid-January that she was shutting down the business. Mm-hmm. And as she had 51% and I had 49%, there wasn't a whole lot I could do. So January that happened, and February 1st, I was opening my new business with no money because I left the other business with no money. And Barbara has been instrumental. and bringing me to be able to say that I even have a business still today, introducing me to the right people to help me and mentor me. And she has mentored me. So she's being very, very modest. She has done a ton. So thank you. But I have to say, the ladies that are here today and you, Barbara, everyone has been a true inspiration to me in different ways. And that's why I asked them to be on here with me, because I feel like they are the ones who can teach me things, including you. So.
Right. And that's exactly it. And one of my things is like my story a little bit. Well, it's not a little bit. It's just my story is that I thought I was going to dance at my great grandchildren's weddings. Well, that didn't happen because 13 years ago now, my husband passed away. And what am I going to do? Well, when I woke up from my widow's fog, it was like, okay, Barbara, David has died. You have not. What are you going to do for the rest of your life? And it was absolutely the scariest moment of my life because I had absolutely no idea of who I was outside of all the labels and all of the titles and all of those things that I had put on myself of being, a daughter and then being a wife and then being a mother and then being a divorced failure, but then being a successful wife again and then being a grandmother and a business owner, and now I'm a widow. Who am I in all of that? And it was in that moment that, like one of the things that I talk about is that we all have our stories. We have our backstory, and that's my backstory. And then we have a decision story. Okay, Barbara, I cannot go on like I'm talking to myself. You cannot go on like this for another minute. That's your decision story. But then it's like, okay, what are you going to do? And that's where we come into our pivot story. And that's why now I love working with the late career business professionals, because they're in that same spot. Yes. So often the things that we've had to, our journey itself is what we end up teaching, because that's who, because we can help them with that, whatever that is. And that's why I truly believe that shows like this are so important. And one of the reasons why I started this show, I was on a friend of mine had a show like this, and hers was all about collaboration. And I said, well, this was really fun. I said, but collaboration. Yeah, no, that's, I love collaboration because I think we all need to do it because we can all learn from each other. But one day I was sitting in my quiet time and it was like, people need to talk about what has happened in their life. And they need to know that they're not alone in their struggle. They need to know that they're not alone if they're feeling stuck. That they need to know that there are people out there who will listen, give advice if they want it, but just be, like Barb said, to just be a listening ear. And I have found that so often people have come back to me and said, gee, you know what, Barb, one of your guests on the show said this, and it rocked my world because it resonated with me. And that's why I am so grateful, ladies, for all of you being here and sharing your stories. And then let's just have a conversation about what it means to redefine success. We all have our own stories. And we all have our own spots of what caused it. And you've shared with us some of your backstories. But now let's see, what are you doing now to go forward? And what things have happened that have brought you going forward? And so, really, let's chat. So, my story, that's kind of me. I started doing this show. And by the way, if anybody would like to come on as a co-host, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to have you, and we can talk dates and details. And, it's just a great way to introduce what you do to other people and your journey. It's all about the journey because we all have one.
Definitely. And our journeys, when I was, getting out of college and had my life in front of me, what my life turned into is not at all what I had planned. I was the oldest of 8 kids, so I had determined I was not having kids. And if I did have them, I would have one in my 40s. And by 27, I had 5 in 4 years. So that was not the plan. And that was a big pivoting moment for me, because I had always told myself I would never be defined by motherhood, because I had spent my teenage years as a mother, though I hadn't had my own kids. And I just wasn't going to let motherhood define my life. And suddenly I am defined by motherhood. Even working outside the house was very, I couldn't do it. So I had to find a way to define myself apart from what I did. And that was really hard, because I got a lot of my value from what I did. And
exactly,
as a mother, I think the one thing that any mother can tell you is that it is often a thankless job. You don't feel, sometimes you go to bed crying because you feel like you went backwards instead of accomplishing. And for me, that was, and then the experiences of special needs kids where they screaming 12 hours a day and not being able to comfort them, and all the therapies and all the things. And people eventually start looking at you. You have how many kids that are special needs? What are you doing wrong? Are you giving them enough attention? My mother-in-law called me once and said, I think I know why your kids are autistic. It's because you don't spend enough time with them. And I said, I'm a stay-at-home mom with no car. All I do is spend time with them.
Right.
So, it goes back. So it's just, we have to find the value within ourselves, because other people aren't going to give it to us. And we can find best of friends that encourage us, but that value has to come from within us, because just as many friends as we have encouraging us, there will be people out there who discourage us. So that for me was one of the biggest lessons I learned in the midst of the most trying times of my life.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things for me was that I was brought up in a very conservative family, and nothing, we were loved and we had a great time, and yet it was always an underlying thing that, Barb, you're so flamboyant. You like wearing these bright colors, and professional women don't wear bright red glasses and wear bright red lipstick and have bright red toes. And I went, well, yeah, they do, because that's me. And now I've come to the point where I like me, who I am. And I think that's what the journey is about, redefining success. What does it mean for each one of us individually? And then we take that out and giving other people permission to be themselves, being authentic.
Right.
Saying, hey, this was my struggle. So absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's also important to recognize that just because you didn't end up where you thought you were, it doesn't mean that you're unsuccessful.
Right.
In fact, like for me, instance, I just told you, I thought I was going to go to school to be a doctor, and I'm obviously not doing that anymore. But just because you're not going where you thought you were going doesn't mean that you will be unsuccessful. In fact, you may be more successful than you thought you were going to be. It's just, you never know. So just like you said, we have to redefine how we think about success and how we talk to others about success. Sometimes we have a different measure of success than other people do, and we can honestly make people feel like they're not successful whenever maybe in their eyes they are successful. It depends on who you are and what your measure of success is.
I think it's important. Got to define what you define success as, not what other people do. Because some people's success may be I make tons of money, and other people's success may be I'm supporting these children.
Right.
I'm supporting this cause. Two totally different success measures, but both very valid. So, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, even you were talking about self-love. If you can achieve self-love, that's half the battle. That's one of the most successful things you can do in your life. Love yourself. Like, I just actually made a post today about self-love. I don't know if you saw it, Kristine, but I posted it. And because it's really, I mean, in the caption I said, who can love you better than yourself? And it's so true. That's a very big step in your life. Self-love.
And isn't it true? I mean, we're the only ones we can never get away from. So
Right.
we may as well love ourselves. I mean, not in a selfish, self-centered way, but just in loving who we are.
Yes.
And loving what God has brought into our lives to be a mission, or either a mission or a belief that, hey, I can help other people.
Yes. Shatha, were you going to say something?
Yes, I remembered something. During we're writing the book, and I was driving. I had a fight with my husband. He was number one, always supportive. So my first support, like, he's not there. And I was driving. I don't mind crushing this wall and leave this life for now. And I sit and I remember the moment when I cried so hard, close to my house, and there was rain like a movie, honestly, but I'm crying, I'm pouring. Like, this is the hardest time. I put all my emotion, and after that I prayed to God. I said, God, like, help me, like, I want to find a way out of the whole this. It's stressful. Life is stressful, having raising kids, coming from different country. I was telling my colleague, I don't know how to write emails because back home we don't have emails. Writing emails, we send the envelopes. I don't know how where to write the address. Like, you have to adapt to all, like, to a literally new life. So it's very hard during also raising a kid, working full time. Uh, there is no family near you, so you have to be by your own 24/7 days. I even I bought a t-shirt with 24/7 mom. So because, like, there is no stepping like for a minute to take a breath in. And I had to go through. I know parents sometimes put the pressure on their kids. It's very difficult. So I said, no, I'm not gonna do that with my kids. I'm not gonna be yelling, and everybody will hear my voice in the neighborhood. So I will go and learn how to be calm. So doing going from one step to another, from immigrant to um, a mother to I studied dental assisting. Like, with first year, I don't know what to do. What is my future in Canada? So I said, no, no, no. My dream was to have my own company, and I see it here, like this tall. When I sleep, I see it here. So going for your future and plan that we have, it comes from us. Like, I decided to come here. I decided to. My dad told me, Shatha, if you go there, you're by your own. You have. Oh, you're not coming back and say, my husband is not nice. I don't like this. I don't want to work this hard. It's your choice. And this his words always stuck in my ears. Like, it's my decision. I have to go with it, and I have to survive it. Even though husband and wife always have their ups and downs. I give 100, he gives one. Like we had to manage uh, in a very difficult times. But I've noticed the love, the support we should give to each other, and especially women's, we have to help each other. It's amazing. Like, when I get the help from my husband, the male, is different than Christine. I had my therapist. She comes and we talk about how difficult doing a book. And I go to Christine. Christine, I can't. I cry, and she said, "I said I have to pay you for being my therapist sometimes." She was always there. Calm down, Shetha. It'll be okay. We'll finish the book, and don't worry. So she was always there, like God sends angel, and one of them is a Christian. And believe it or not, she is a very important person in my life.
Same goes to you. And honestly, when we started the show, I said that Shatha's book changed my life. Shatha has, one of her goals with this book was to have a voice within the Middle East for women who don't have access to therapy because it's not available to them. So she actually put in this book, as she's telling her story, different therapy exercises that they can do to help work through their things, because this may be obviously it's not a replacement for therapy if you can have it, but if there's nothing else available, this is something that you can do to start working through things, because something is better than nothing. And her heart for other women, and for especially for women who have survived sexual abuse, especially as children, she really just, this book, it's a hard one to read. It has a great ending, but it's hard to read through it. But and I'm going to be honest, it was probably one of the hardest books I've helped write, because I was doing the translating type things for her. She would tell me it, and then I would try to put it in English. And but it is life changing. Her story is life changing, and what she has survived, coming from a war torn country to being raised in war and surviving, things within her own family, and then coming to Canada, which had been always her goal as a child. She is an amazing woman, and she's downplaying all the things she has survived and is now thriving through because she is definitely a thriver, not just a survivor.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, that's why with me it's like I need to get these stories out, because people thrive on stories, on other people's stories. We always want to hear the hero stories, and we are the heroes of our own life. And sometimes I think we forget that. Don't you think?
Oh,
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm the hero of my own story. So yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that it's why it is so important, and it's so wonderful to hear all of the things that you're talking about. Because look at all the different backgrounds, and obviously different age groups.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we have similar feelings of stress and of, maybe are we going to be able to do it? Are we going to fit in? Are we going to make a difference? Are we going to survive? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can.
I think that a turning point for me is when I learned that I wanted to do more than survive, because I lived in survival for many, many years, because we have special needs kids. I didn't mention my husband is also autistic, and very high function, very, very, very intelligent man. But our marriage was difficult in the beginning because he did not know how to communicate with me. And I didn't know that he was autistic until my kids were diagnosed, and then they diagnosed him. And during that time, it was very, very difficult. And our whole life was just surviving communication, surviving money, surviving, all diagnoses, and surviving the education system. And I just got to the point one day where I was like, I don't want to survive anymore. I'm tired of surviving. I truly want to thrive. I want something better for me. I want something better for my children. I want something better for my marriage. And what do I have to do to get us there? And obviously, none of us are there. If we ever get there, it's probably when we're dead. Because we're always changing and growing and expanding. But I think we have to get past the point of where we just accept what is and decide we want more. Until then, we aren't at that point where we can make a decision to change. Because it takes change on our parts, which is the secret that nobody wants to talk about. Because it's not, I could have just stayed sitting and surviving and never moved on. And I would have survived until the day I died. Mm-hmm. And I don't want that. And I hope that our viewers don't want that for themselves either, that they want to thrive in the lives that they have.
I completely agree, because one thing that no one ever discusses when talking about, constantly being in survival mode is it really is a choice, like you said, because you get to the point where you've been in survival mode for so long that that's your new norm, and anything else is kind of foreign, and you're like, whoa, I don't want to do that. This is an uncomfortable space. But we all ultimately know that growth happens whenever you are out of your comfort zone. So I love that you brought that up, Kristine, because some people, you know, they are scared to get out. I mean, even though, you know, survival mode, just being in survival mode, it's not great for you. It's not great for your health or your mental health or anything like that. It's not the ideal, but sometimes people stay in it for longer than maybe they should because it's all they know at that point. That's all they're used to. But you know, once you make the actual conscious choice to, you know, not just survive but to thrive, that's whenever you really have to put in the work. But ultimately, we all know it's worth it. It's worth it.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better. Because it is a choice that we can, and I think that's why I thank you again for coming on the show, because there's somebody out there that needed to just hear what Marissa said, and needed to hear what Shatha said, and to hear what that Barbara was ready to pull her, you know, practically pull her hair out, and said, "Okay, Kristine, you just need to listen. You don't need to fix me. You just need to listen to me." And that is so often the case. We just need somebody to listen to it. And one of the things that I work with my clients too is to just get it out of your body.
Yes.
Because if you keep it in, well, guess what? I think it was Marissa that said you burn out, stress, all of those words are all part of the same thing because we are keeping the things that we're doing bottled up within us. And it's impacting everything else.
Yeah. Survival mode will tear up your nervous system. I'm telling you.
It does.
It'll tear up your nervous system, your stomach. It'll tear up everything. You do not want that.
I got to the point of when it was when my youngest was diagnosed at. He was diagnosed as schizoaffective, which is on the schizophrenic scale at 12 years old, which is an unheard of diagnosis that young. And we had gone through all kinds of things. And we had diagnosis after diagnosis, and I had always chosen to keep it light and try, you know, just, you know, I had a bumper sticker. I had joked with my husband, I wanted a bumper sticker that says DSM-5. If it's in there, it's in here. The DSM-5 is the diagnostic manual for mental illnesses. And so my husband, as a Christmas gift, had that made for me. So we were driving around with that, and I was making light of it, but not in our lives, but just because it can be overwhelming to just, you know, think on these things all the time. And but then we're sitting in front of my son's pediatric neuropsychiatrist, and she's telling me, your son has schizoaffective disorder. We probably would diagnose him as schizophrenic, but we don't give that diagnosis at 12. And he will be on medication for the rest of his life because there is no amount of therapy that is going to balance his brain chemistry. And all the horror stories of schizophrenia, you know, homelessness, all the things that go along with it, and the things that we had seen and experienced. And I didn't even know I was crying. I felt a tear fall on my hand. And I just had tears falling down my face, and I didn't even know I was crying. And at that point, I broke. And when I mean broke, all the stress of, you know, 15 years of marriage and all the things we had gone through just came tumbling in. I lost my words. I'm a writer, and I lost my words. I actually wrote a blog about it, losing your words. And that was the biggest thing for me was how do I come back from that? And I didn't know. It took two of my friends coming to me and saying, "You're not okay. You are not okay." And my friend Donna, she passed a year and a half, no, 2 years ago now from COVID. But at the time, she and my friend Becky kidnapped me and brought me to dinner. And they said, "You're not okay, and we're not going to let you stay here." And my friend Donna said, "I found a therapist who works with people with moms and dads with kids with special needs, and I made an appointment for you."
Wow.
And I was like, because she knew if she left it to me, it wasn't going to happen. I, you know, and I started going, and my therapist was like, "Kristine, I have never seen somebody so disconnected from their body. She's like, you don't even know you're stressed. And yet you're sitting here grinding your teeth. Every 2 minutes you're sighing. You have to reconnect with your body. And so before we could do any of the hard work, I had to sit there, and every day, every 15 minutes, my therapist told me to check and see if I was grinding my teeth or if I was sighing, and then do breathing exercises, because I didn't know. And complex PTSD will do that to you. All the things that you have, you know, I didn't sleep. I still don't sleep much, but I didn't sleep at all. You know, all these things, being hyper vigilant, all the thing, that's what happens when you are in survival mode for 15 years.
Right.
And you, instead of thriving. And that was the experience that brought me to the point of, I don't want to survive anymore. I want to thrive. Because if I survive, my therapist literally laid it out like this. She said, Kristine, if you don't make changes, you will not be here in another 10 years. Because the stress is going to kill you.
Right. Right. One of the things that I always share with people, you know, I'm in has a business part. I'm in the wellness space. And one of the things that I always share with people is that, you know, you have 37.2 trillion cells in your body. Every one of them is listening to your thoughts and what you're telling yourself, and everything that you don't realize you're telling yourself. It's all those underneath things that finally they have to have an outlet. They have to come out. And that's why it's so important to hear that there are people who have gone through it and who are surviving, who are not just surviving, but they're thriving, because now they're helping other people through it. And a friend of mine said, he said, Barb, the first thing I remember you saying that if you've thought it, if you have survived it, now you have to tell people about it, because they might be coming up and experiencing what you have already come through on the other side. And I loved what Marissa said, on the other side of our comfort zone.
Right.
Yes.
So true. So much. I remember the very first show that I did like this. It was like, okay, am I really going to do this? And it was like, yes, Barbie, you are, because it's an important subject. We need to know that we're not alone. We need to know that there are other people who have made the journey, are still making the journey. I have not arrived, but it's still a journey.
Yeah.
And that's what's the important thing. So anyways, yeah, and already the time has gone by. What would anybody like to have? Well, we know you're going to, just whether you like to or not. We're going to talk about final words. What's one piece of advice or something that you can share with our audience? And this is because this is going to go to all of us, that you can share that has really been like a pivotal, or something that really made an impactful on your life or on the life of somebody that you know, something that you were able to share with somebody. And one of the things that I worked with, one day I was working with a guy and he was telling me all the things that he was doing, and Barbie would get a kick out of this. He was in financial services, and doing all the numbers things. And finally I said to him, and he was just telling me about it, he was just doing it. And finally I said to him, well, if you weren't doing that, what would you be doing? Tell me one thing that you would be doing. And he was absolutely blank. But then he said, you know what? As a kid, I always wanted to do this. And so I said to him, all right, well, then in the next 2 weeks, I want you to bring one thing, take one step that you can do to move your life from where you are now to that. And I said, and what one step are you going to take? Again, he was just absolutely like, ooh, I don't know. But he finally came up with an answer. Oh, ladies, 2 weeks later, he came back. It was like he was a changed man. Because now he had said, oh, I don't have to just as Kristine said, I don't just have to strive and just be where I'm at with something that's not making my heart sing, something that's not giving me pleasure or giving me fulfillment. This, I'm going to move towards this. And it was just awesome. So that kind of thing. What, just one thing that you want to leave with the audience that can just give them, a bit of joy. So let's, Kristine.
Well,
And then
we'll
you can,
start with Barbara. We'll go back the opposite way now.
okay, that's perfect. This is, yep, you're the co-host. Yep.
You're not alone. That's the biggest thing. You're not alone. You don't ever have to completely do it alone. That's the biggest thing.
Do you think it takes a little bit of courage to just say, hey, you know what? I'm not alone, but I'm to reach out, to ask? I think that's one of the things that I have found is that people are so afraid of asking for help.
I mean, it does take courage to ask for help. I mean, it always will.
Yeah.
But there's always someone there.
Yeah.
It seems like it's like I said, you're just not alone. That's what, one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
What about you, Shatha?
About me, maybe you misunderstood one thing. The situation in Iraq is really bad. The stories that we have is when I told my mom, it's not specifically my story. It's about somebody I care about actually. But going through this journey, it was difficult just to write it down as writing these emotions in Arabic, and Christine helps with English. But what I'm trying to say, when we see people are angry or upset, or I mean they went through something, like give them some time. Like maybe this person is going through hard time. Like just imagine the worst case scenario, what is happening. Be more understandable to each other. That helps. Like when I told my mom about my friend's story, and what happened, and what how it's difficult to pass all this trauma of the abuse. And she said, Shafa, you should hear more, because I left Iraq. She said a lot of women are suffering. Oh man, most men, like everyone has different story. So I want to be like the voice of for these children. They like I want to help these people, and we can help like by not
Mhm.
helping kids in the school. I would love like if the government or anybody goes to the parents and educate them how to the bad people can go after their kids, different languages. Like if we help these children coming being okay, having a nice childhood, that can help them being a better productive for our community, helps with being safe, helping others. Like if we help more children in the same time, I can go to school and explain for children how to protect themselves. But in the same time, parents has to understand this. There is always ways to get to the children. So I want to help these parents, at the same time get a better community in different countries, not here. It happens everywhere, these scenarios. So I'm hoping like the copy in Arabic can help people who speaks Arabic. It was very hard and difficult to talk about it, but starting passing the edge when it's hard, but I still have to go past these needles to the other side. I can make it. I can do it. So hopefully we can take more stories of Iraq, and Christine can help me with it and help people to see I'm not the only one who's suffering from this stress, or losing husband, or
Mhm.
losing children. It's all difficult. So people has to know there is others, as the miss told about it. She said, you're not alone. You are not alone. That's help. The support is the mental support is like, I'm not alone in this. I can do it. I can pass.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
What about you, Marissa?
What I would love to say to our audience and to really just anyone listening is if it doesn't feel right in your soul, don't do it. Don't continue to do it. I would have saved myself a lot of heartbreak, burnout, and like physical, like, like a lot of, I wouldn't have a lot of the health issues that I went through a few years, like a year or two ago. I wouldn't have went through that if I hadn't put so much stress on myself, because I was basically, what I was doing for so long was I was trying to make my foot fit in a shoe that was not made for me, right? I was trying to make something work that obviously wasn't working. And if I would have just listened to myself and listened to my intuition, because one thing about me is I'm a very rational person, and like if it looks right on paper, then I'm just going to do it. If it looks logistically correct, then that's what I'm going to go with, not necessarily my heart. I always go with my head, but I wish I would have just followed what my heart and my soul was telling me, and also ultimately my body was telling me. I would have saved myself a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of burnout. I would have, but I can't turn back the clock. So I'm just trying to take the steps now that I can to, listen to my heart. What do I want to do now? How can how can I make myself happy and also do what's best for me, and also take care of my health now, because that's a big deal to me, because I'm starting to see how all of these things interconnect. So that's what I just want to tell people. If it doesn't feel good for your soul, just step back and just reevaluate. And it's okay to reevaluate. That's one thing I wish I would have learned earlier. It's okay to reevaluate, and things do not always go to plan. Yeah.
For me, it's going to sound corny, but I really, really believe this. And this is what has helped me grow and change. I truly believe that everyone on this earth has a story, and that story is given to us to share and to help other people. And if we share that with other people, they can avoid some of the pain we've gone through, but also in sharing it, we also heal ourselves. And to me, that has been so life-changing, because so many people have poured into me. I want to be able to pour into others and give back. And that, I think, is the full circle coming, is when we go through it, we overcome it, and then we can give back to others. And that is, to me, the most fulfilling part of life.
Absolutely. And right now I have been putting how to contact. We've put in LinkedIn profiles that people, if you want to reach out and hear more from each one of our guests, then please make sure that you do that.
Yes.
Because you know what? We're all willing to just get outside of our comfort zone and talk to people and have it. Sometimes, you don't say everything out on a public forum, but you could have a private conversation. So absolutely. And I just want to thank everybody for coming today, for just sharing your expertise, sharing your heart. And that is, to me, what is the most important thing, is just sharing that we are all in life together. We can't do it on our own. So why not do it together and make a difference in the world? So if you haven't, anyways, but have everybody, we'll see you next time. And as I said before, if anybody would like to come on as a co-host, please reach out to me. I put a link in the comments, that just reach out to me. And you know what? Because we are all in this together, and we can impact the world into being a more positive, uplifting space by all sharing our stories. So everybody, have an awesome day, and we will talk to you next time. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Hey.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.